every step I took, the lads were sort of making farting noises or something like that behind my back, which obviously didn't settle me down that quickly. Sometimes when I didn't play, I was in charge of cooking the pizzas at the back of the bus. Security guards just dragged me off the stage and like put me back into the VIP area saying you mustn't, it's not safe to do that. Yeah, and we was on like sitting on the dance floor playing all them games, where you're rowing a boat and then taking a shot of drink and all that. That got out of hand a bit, that one. He turned round with a big smile on his face. He said, I effing love that.
Luke Chadwick, how are you?
Yeah, very well. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. We're here at Soham Town Rangers FC, where you finished your career. Does it bring back any good memories?
Great memories. I love my time here. It was certainly a little bit different to what I was used to throughout my career, but it's a fantastic little football club. I used to enjoy a couple of beers in the clubhouse over there after a game.
Let's start at the beginning. You were playing football in Cambridge schools. Manchester United come knocking. How did that come about?
So at the time, believe it or not, I was scoring a fair few goals when I was a kid. So I forged a bit of a reputation for myself playing for the Cambridge schools team, like the area team. And I was also at Arsenal at the time as well, like in their centre of excellence. So I'd play Cambridge schools on a Saturday and Arsenal on a Sunday. And it was off the back of that a great man called Ray Medwell, God rest his soul, scouted me to go up for a trial at Man United. And after that, I was a Man United player from the age of 15 years old, so it was an incredible time.
What position were you playing?
Centre forward.
Centre forward?
Yeah, I was quite quick, so I used to run in behind and get a few goals. I used to probably miss more chances than I'd score, but I got that many chances in a game that I ended up scoring hundreds of goals every season.
So were you the best player in Cambridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be. You got to be if you're scoring that many goals.
I was up there, right up there.
When you moved to Manchester United, they put you in digs. What was that like?
I'm from a tiny little village to the south of Cambridge, so the most exciting thing that happens there is the yearly church fete. That's what gets people going. So it was certainly a...
Did you go?
Yeah, always, yeah.
Never miss out on a church fete?
No, never. But it was certainly a different world in the digs I lived in Salford. It was like living on Coronation Street. I lived with a incredible fella called John Lancaster, who's actually Phil Bardsley's granddad. So he was... the guy that me and another lad, Jason, he was from Hull. We lived together in digs there, and it was. I found it tough, to be honest. The first 4 or 5 weeks, I was incredibly homesick. I used to phone home in tears to my mum and my dad, saying, "I want to come home." But I sort of stuck it out, and once I got through that original sort of early homesickness, the next 2 years were two of the best years of my life. Obviously, I just left school, playing football every day in a youth team with. You spend all your time with these lads, and it was a wonderful experience that I loved.
What was your first day like at Manchester United? Is it like first day at school? You've got your backpack on, you've got your boots in your bag, and you turn up and you're like, I don't know anyone. Who's going to be my friend?
I signed when I was sort of 14, 15 for the club. So through that period of year 10 and year 11 at school, I used to just go up to Manchester on a weekend. So I spent a lot of time up there. So I knew all my teammates, but like it was quite a daunting experience, obviously turning up, like you say, with my backpack on, new football boots, going into the cliff and sort of being so close, being around these absolute legends of the game. So it was quite I was a real quiet, shy lad, and it was obviously a big deal, and I used to walk around looking at the floor, hoping no one would make conversation with me.
Because you must have been the most popular kid at your school. Like, do you know Luke plays for Man United at the weekends? And that must have been wicked.
Oh yeah, I gave it absolute big licks at school. I used to go to school to me Man United.
Man United tracksuit. We did after school. I was probably just going to play the Nintendo. I'm going actually to train at Manchester United.
Yeah, I had all the gear. I'd probably my mates at school used to get sick of me because I used to go on. But when I was like comfortable with my peers, I was quite lively, quite outgoing. But in a new group of people, I was always the quiet one. I wouldn't really say much, sort of ease my way in. But it was daunting. But like what an opportunity to go and sign for the biggest football club in the world. And
when did you meet Sir Alex Ferguson for the first time?
When I went up for my first original trial in the school holidays as an under 14, under 15 player. The week ended with a game at Littleton Road against Nottingham Forest, and Alex Ferguson was there. He took such an interest in the young players, everything that went on at the club he had an interest in. So by the time I'd got home, they dropped me at the train station, got on a train. It took me hours to get home, trains to Ely, then at Cambridge, then back to the little village where I lived. And my mum picked me up and said that during that afternoon, Sir Alex Ferguson had phoned her up, asking my permission to sign for the football club. So once I heard that, it was such an amazing thing to hear that, and there was no other place. But it weren't just that. Was the genius of Sir Alex Ferguson, the attention to detail, the little things that he'd do. Every player that he wanted to sign, he'd take that personal touch.
Yeah.
I'd played up there when I was a first team player. I'd be in the canteen at Carrington, and there'd be under 11, under 12 academy boys there, and the manager would know every one of their names, know their parents' names, know a little bit of detail about him. And once you get that from someone of such standing, you want to run through a brick wall for him. It was he was one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life.
Who was it that called you up for your first training session with the first team?
I think it would have been Steve McLaren when I was a youth team, because all the lads used to be buzzing thinking that they might have a chance to train with the first team, but I'd rather I didn't. I'd rather stay with the youth team and sort of go over and train with them. But I remember the first time I trained with them, I was a scholar, and we trained at the Cliff, and it was an 11v11, and I was warming up, and I must have looked a little bit nervous and that sort of thing. And I remember doing the run-throughs, and the lads were sort of, as I was, every step I took, the lads were sort of making farting noises or something like that behind my back, which obviously didn't settle me down that quickly. But when I trained, I was playing on the left wing against David Beckham and Gary Neville, and I had quite a good game. I just kept running with the ball, and it was amazing, to be honest with you. Just to think that I was actually doing that from where I'd come from. I couldn't imagine so soon training with these like world-class footballers.
What was that like, being in the surroundings of these players that are household names, they're superstars, and you've come in and you're already a shy lad? It must have been quite daunting.
I was completely in awe of these people, but I think at the same time, particularly at the Cliff, you were so close to them. Like the dressing rooms were so close. When you were walking around in the canteen, they were so close. I think that was part of the incredible environment that was built there. You were with these people all the time, and then you'd feel more comfortable as time went on, and you'd be around them all the time. So it was I was certainly in awe of from every single one of them, and to train with them, to play with them, was an incredible experience.
And how did that change when you went to Antwerp on loan?
Oh, so
different.
It was like an amazing experience. I loved my time. I had a really good 2 years as a scholar at Man United, done really well, signed a professional contract, and then at the end of the second year went home for my summer break, and I was probably expected when I go back to be around the first team and train with them. I certainly had a good summer break. I'd just signed a professional contract, had a bit more money in my pocket, and probably enjoyed the summer a bit too.
Where'd you go?
I went Ibiza.
Oh yeah.
I think we went away something like with my mates as well, and I went back to United, and it was one of them situations where you probably think you've made it, because I'd signed my first professional contract, and I came back and I didn't play well, weren't in great physical condition, and I was miles away from the first team. So that was when they decided to send me out to Antwerp, and they sent me out to a game. Antwerp invited me out to a game to watch, see what it was like, and it was a cup game just before Christmas, and the atmosphere was amazing. It was like a proper European, that has smoke bombs in the crowd. The fans were like, when they were mad. It was, and after seeing that, I couldn't wait to get back out there and play, like have my first experience really playing first team football. And I remember my first game, I come on as sub and scored a goal, and the fans were all singing my name, and I've never felt anything like it. It's the first time I've ever had that, and they were such a passionate crowd, and they really took to me straight away, and I had a real positive experience at Antwerp, both on the pitch and obviously it's a life experience of living in a different country and experiencing a different culture, etc. So it was a brilliant time there.
Did you learn the language?
I can't speak Flemish. I know a couple of swear words, but a lot of the time when the manager had the ump at half time, he used to go mad at the lads in Flemish. When he was in a good mood, he'd speak in English so we could all understand.
Right. So you know if you'd done something bad, because he'll just go, Luke.
Yeah. Like, I have no idea what he was talking about. But,
was that good or bad?
You still bet all the lads spoke, like in Belgium in general, the majority of people tend to speak English, so the language barrier weren't too much of a problem really.
What did you learn from that experience in Antwerp?
I felt like a proper man. You know, I'd left school, but I was still sort of living in Salford in digs. Everything was done for me. When I went to Antwerp, it was like, well, I've got to fend for myself a little bit now. I feel like I'm not a kid anymore. So I really grew up in Antwerp, and that was probably the main positive that came out of it, really turning into a man, and then going back and having the opportunity of playing some games at United.
Would you have liked to stayed out there a little bit longer?
Definitely, I was absolutely gutted when I got
Yeah,
called back because
I read that you were a bit disappointed to come back.
yeah, because I assumed I'd been out there for ages, like the end of one season and the start of another. I thought I was just going back to playing the reserves again and being amongst the reserves just so they could have me back in Manchester. So I was really disappointed to be going back. And obviously when I went back, I was sort of thrown straight into the first team. So it worked out okay in the end.
And you made your first team debut. What was that like?
My Premier League debut, I come on against Middlesbrough at Old Trafford and we were winning 1-0 and I went on with about 2 minutes to go. And I
90 minutes, Chadwick comes on.
Yeah, probably the perfect time for me to come on.
Did you play well?
Oh, incredible. It's probably my best performance. But I remember just going on and it felt so surreal, and I think I touched the ball twice. Once I just played a simple pass and the other time I think I overrun it and got tackled. But I remember just coming off the pitch with a massive grin on my face thinking this is incredible. I just played in the Premier League for Man United, albeit for only like 2 minutes or whatever it was, but to actually have done that as a kid growing up, I would have taken that. I would have taken a minute in the Premier League, because that was always the dream to be a professional footballer.
What were those away days like at Manchester United on the coach with these stars? You're a young lad.
The young lads used to stick together a little bit.
The front of the bus.
Yeah, at the front, we had a little
out the firing line.
We had a little table where we'd play cards and that sort of thing, and I'd just stay quiet really. There was obviously a lot of big hitters on there. They'd play a bit of cards and that sort of thing. Sometimes when I didn't play, I was in charge of cooking the pizzas at the back of the bus and serving them out to the
Kieran Dye said that at Ipswich. He was playing first team, and because he was the youngest lad, he had to get everyone's meals ready. So he was cooking lasagnas, but you were cooking pizzas.
Yeah, it was always like nothing but the best. It was always Marks and Spencer.
Yeah,
so I'd just stick it in the old oven at the back. That'd stay in 20 minutes, and people would be shouting to me what they wanted, and I'd be
saying,
right now.
Can we get another pepperoni pizza, please? Roy Keane's a bit hungry.
Yeah, try not to make mistakes, and sort of. It was an experience, and obviously it was like you just grow into it and you become more comfortable on it. But I remember one time, I don't know, we'd had a bit of banter or something, the young lads, and Nicky Butt's bag went missing. And for some reason he blamed me, and I thought, oh my God. And I went and pulled him to one side and explained in no uncertain detail that it definitely wasn't me that had touched his bag. And I was so scared inside that he was blaming me. So there was a few shenanigans that went on, but it was... we always seemed to be on the bus, because there was, or on the plane there'd be Champions League games, away games.
Amazing.
So we was on the road a fair bit in that season where I was in and around the first team.
Why did Nicky Butt think it was you?
I don't know. I think someone told him.
Someone told him it was you.
I would have been the last person who would have taken it.
Did he get it back?
Yeah, he got it back.
Oh yeah.
He got it back. I can't remember who took it. It definitely weren't me.
You played for 10 clubs in your career. Did you have to do initiations at each club?
There was always a little initiation at each club. As I got a little bit older, I sort of stepped away from it and said that I wouldn't be doing it. But I remember the one, we went, where did we go? We went away with Man United, and we went away to Thailand, Singapore and Malaysia, and we were allowed one night out, and that was in Singapore. And that was when I was told that I was had to do my speech in front of everyone.
Oh no.
And I remember we were drinking Singapore slings in I think it was a Raffles, like a real posh hotel.
Nice.
And I was so sort of worried and nervous about having to do this. I probably drunk a little bit more than I should.
Oh wow.
And ended up doing a speech and just saying thank you for everyone for being so welcoming and that sort of thing. And like when I got it out of the way, it was such a relief.
Yeah.
But I remember we went off to a nightclub after that, and like the Man United were all in like a VIP area, and I was obviously not used to anything like this, so I went had too much to drink, went for a little wander around the nightclub, and I ended up like dancing around like on one of them stage things there, like with all like the local people. And the next thing I know, some security guards just dragged me off the stage and like put me back into the VIP area, saying it's not
Can't
safe
leave.
to do that. Yeah, so it was I weren't used to that sort of treatment, that's for sure. I was used to knocking around Ballare in Cambridge City Centre, so it was a different world out there.
Did you enjoy the social life at Manchester United?
I enjoyed going out with the lads and that sort of thing. I was never a fan of, I was never comfortable sort of being famous or people knowing who I was. I never particularly liked that, to be honest with you, so I probably didn't enjoy it as much as what a lot of other people did. But it was obviously, it was all part of the experience.
How quickly did people start recognising you in the street?
The organisation's so huge, like there's no sort of shying away from it really. I think once you make a debut and you play some games for Manchester United, that's the nature of the beast, to it, as it were. Everyone knows who you are, whether that be a positive or a negative thing.
And you had a few good socials, one in particular when you were in the reserves and you went out with the first team, and Sir Alex said, under no circumstances can any reserve players go out, yet you still did.
I actually went out and I was driving my car, so I weren't drinking. Obviously I did wrong and shouldn't have done it, but I remember that night it all kicked off and some people got in, there was fighting and the police came and it all went wrong really. And then the next day I went into training. Obviously there was somehow a picture, I was with all the other lads, and the manager must have seen that and saw that I was out as well. But it was just walking down the corridor and it was just my luck to be walking past him at the same time. And I thought, if he didn't see me then, he probably wouldn't have. He just looked at me and went, I can't trust you now, that's you fine 2 weeks' wages. And I thought, oh no. But it was the same day when we were having our Christmas dinner at Carrington, and on Christmas dinner the staff served the food to everyone. So the gaffer was walking around, he was serving soup, and he sort of saw me, brought the soup over, smashed it down in front of the table, and he said, that's the most expensive bowl of soup you'll ever eat. So he made light of the situation, but it was a scary time getting on the wrong side of the gaffer.
What soup was it?
Cream of tomato. It was my favourite soup.
So it's a good soup then.
Yeah, it was probably more or less
so
worth
all the soups to have, at least you enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. It was, again, it's all a learning curve, and you sort of understand that you shouldn't do, you need to stick particularly to Sir Alex Ferguson and do what he tells you to do.
What was your favourite pre-season tour?
Favourite pre-season tour? Oh, there was a few. I remember we went out to Austria with Stoke City. That was we had a good time there. That was a lovely place we stayed in, up in the mountains as well. We had a really good time. I'm trying to think. We went with Burnley. We had a trip out to the Isle of Man, which was an experience.
That must have been a bit disappointing at the start of the season. Where we going? Marbella, anywhere? Oh, Isle of Man. Cool.
We did actually, that season with Burnley, we had a mid-season tour to Marbella. Yeah. And it turned, well, you say that, it turned into a bit of a holiday, as it were. And when we returned, we played Coventry at Highfield Road, and at half time we were 4-0 down, and the manager he wanted to take the goalkeeper off. I think David May was playing. He took Maisie off at half time, and I think the lads had certainly enjoyed the trip to Marbella maybe a little bit more than they should have done.
What do you do on these pre-season tours? Because I read that you get up 7, do a few beach runs, and then you have the whole day to do whatever.
That was the case when we went to Marbella. So we spent more than 12 hours a day at Port of Banús.
Strawberry daiquiris.
And then up the next morning. As time went on, and obviously as the game changed, I got older, the pre-seasons become more demanding and a lot more planned in terms of the sports scientists, etc. When I was at MK, we used to go out to Dublin most years, like a lovely hotel by the beach, but the training was really, really tough, and we had... you were there to work. You'd usually sort of that team camaraderie, getting everyone together. You'd have a night out, which was always fun. We went to Portugal once with MK Dons. We went away and we had a lovely place to stay in, and I think Roberto Di Matteo had just left, so we went out on tour without a manager and very little staff there. And I remember we sneaked out a few times. I remember we ended up on the in some nightclub, and the lads said that it was my stag do to the people there. We was on sitting on the dance floor playing all them games, rowing a boat and then taking a shot of drink and all that. That got out of hand a bit, that one. But
how did the season start?
I think that was when Paul Ince came in. So the season actually started all right. It was maybe that was the reason for it. We had a nice holiday at the start of it.
What was he like to work for?
I loved working with Paul Ince. I loved him as a player. He was always someone that I loved watching play. So to play under him as a manager, it was he demanded so much in training. It was probably a little bit similar to the Man United days where training was so intense. I remember his first day in training, we were playing little games and he joined in a lot training. He was still far and away the best player. Yeah. But he was we're playing a little five-a-side and I was against him, and he had a little run and he was about to take a shot with his left foot, and out of nowhere I just came and wiped him out, and I thought, what have you done there? And he was just lying there with his sort of face on the ground. I thought I'd hurt him, and then I sort of put my hand on his shoulder and went, "You all right, Gaffer?" He turned round with a big smile on his face. He said, "I effing love that."
Yeah.
He just loved like tackles flying in. He coached and managed how he sort of played the game as well, and I really enjoyed working for Paul.
Where did you enjoy your football the most?
Probably enjoyed it the most. Probably the most settled I was sort of on and off the pitch was at MK Dons. I spent a fair chunk of my career there, and it was a period where I managed to stay fit. I weren't travelling around because I could live at home, and it only took me 45 minutes to go to training. So it was probably the most settled period was at Milton Keynes.
When did you decide to hang up your boots? Was there a moment you thought, I've had enough here?
Never really. I don't think I ever actually has. I think it was always
just in the dressing room.
The other clubs that hung me boots up for me.
No.
It was. It's probably something I should have done, is to sort of officially say, because I think I struggled a bit when football stopped, like sort of not knowing what my place in the world was anymore. Sort of being known as Luke the footballer probably since the age of 8 and 9 when I started playing. So it's something I just sort of fell out of really, and didn't really say I'm retiring from football now. Still maybe open for that phone to buzz in a minute. There might be one more big move there, but you sort
it's
of
coming.
It was probably a prolonged period of sort of accepting that football was over now, and it was really tough. But it's one of them things you have to go through.
Yeah.
It's a huge, obviously, void in your life that's gone once football stops.
When you signed your contract to Manchester United, I imagine there was a lot of rules that they outlined, that things you can't do. Skydiving, riding motorbikes. Is there anything, now that you've finished, you've gone on and done that you couldn't do back then?
Not really, because I'm a pretty boring person, to be honest with you. I'm not really...
You're not going to be jumping out of planes.
I don't see the point. I don't put myself
on the
under
floor.
any risk whatsoever.
Yeah.
So in terms of sort of skiing, skydiving, and sort of riding motorbikes, I've really got no interest in doing any of it. So in terms of that, I've probably not done anything that differently since I stopped playing.
You joined Twitter and recently spoke out about the abuse you suffered during your time at Manchester United about your appearance. Was there a reason why you waited so long to do that? Is it because of Twitter can be such a toxic place?
I had to join Twitter about a year ago, like in 2019, because of the organisation I work for now, and most of the stuff I put on there is awful banter.
No, it's great. I love it. I love it.
In terms of what I did then, it wasn't supposed to sort of come out of... I didn't want any sympathy. It weren't about me. What I was trying to say is I was trying to put something on there with a bit more meaning than probably what I usually put on there, in terms of we were in the middle of a lockdown and everyone's, I'm sure, mental health would have been fluctuating up and down. And the point I was trying to get across was, when you are going through bad times or you're struggling mentally and you feel really low, the best thing to do is to talk openly about that and talk out about it. Something that I didn't do when I was going through these struggles as a young player at Man United. So the point across it was to, and obviously don't get me wrong, I know me saying that's not going to make a huge amount of difference to a lot of people.
It will.
But it's just, if more people can say that, if more people can do that, I think the world will be a better place in terms of dealing with mental health and trying to, and I think it has come on sort of people's views around mental health, but it can still improve loads more. And I'd like to think in another 10 years' time, people will be even more open to talk about their problems.
Was there anyone you could talk to back then?
There would have been, but it was because of me. I didn't want to talk to anyone because I felt so embarrassed by it. And so if I did say something, people would think, well, this kid plays for the best football club in the world. What's he moaning about? Because in my head, it was such a silly thing that I was feeling so bad about. It's like something that someone would say to you in a school playground and that, but there was no... I didn't know how to fight back, because I just sort of kept everything bottled up inside and never said anything about it, which obviously affected me and made me feel so self-conscious about the way I looked and so anxious about people talking about me, whether they weren't or whether they were. I probably thought they were. So that was... there was certainly people there, but because of the person I was, and I was, like I said, a quiet, shy person, I didn't want to show weakness to anyone. I didn't want to even tell my mum, my dad, my girlfriend. So it was a hard situation, but it's like, looking back now, it would have been so much healthier of me to just come out and spoke about my problems.
So the fact that you went out and played in front of 60,000, 70,000 people, having that inside you is a massive credit to yourself, because not many people could do that.
Yeah, but in all honesty, I don't think it affected my football. Like, football was always the release where I could go and do something. I wouldn't be thinking about anything else because I'd be playing football and running around doing something that I've wanted to do my whole life, really. So I don't think it was more. And like, if I got abuse in a football stadium, obviously some of the things that said probably weren't right, but I can take that because people have paid their money to go. I'm playing the game that I love. I'm doing that. It's more affected me negatively away from the football pitch, and probably it was an incredible time in my life playing football, but it should have been an incredible time in my life away because I was playing for Man United. It was probably soured that experience a little bit.
You're now a football coach.
Yeah, I am. So it's something I never ever envisioned doing as a player. I was never one to talk in the dressing room. I just sort of get on and do my job. I had enough problem taking care of myself, let alone anyone else. So I'd never. It was never something I saw doing. It's something as you get a little bit older and you're sort of thinking, what do I do at the end of my career? So I went through all my coaching qualifications, which was a great learning curve and something I was so proud of, because something that I was so uncomfortable with, standing in front of a group of people and coaching and that sort of thing. So I'm really proud that I went through that. I sort of fell into a job at Cambridge United, the team that I support, within their academy, which was obviously fantastic. But the more I'd done the job there, I didn't love it. Obviously, it's always going to be hard once you've been a professional footballer to find something that replicates that joy. But I thought I couldn't imagine myself doing this the rest of my life, really. It was something where I'm thinking, I don't know how much effect I'm really having on the players. Sometimes football gets professionalised a little bit too early, and the children maybe come into a professional environment too early, where they're playing so much football, they're coached the same way, and you lose a little bit of love for the game. You forget about, because at the end of the day, there's not many of them that are going to become professional footballers, which is fine as long as they absolutely love the journey that they're on, because they're having incredible experiences. So I sort of stepped away from that and got involved with an organisation with a couple of ex-colleagues of mine called the Football Fun Factory, which is the complete opposite, really.
Well, as the title suggests, it's basically kids, go out, enjoy yourself.
That's exactly what it is. It's just stripping the game right back. I mean, if I think back now to when I played football when I was 8, 9 years old, I can't remember one word what a coach said to me to do this or do that, but I remember having a fantastic time and going to every training session with a big smile on my face, because I love being there. But the Football Fun Factory is purely around trying to develop that love for the game and just playing for pure enjoyment, and using football as a vehicle to develop really positive life skills like teamwork, communication, sportsmanship, where in our sessions we'll celebrate that more than a little and scoring 15 goals in a session. It's all about inclusion for everyone, boys and girls of the ages of 2 to 12, just developing a love for the game. So when they're nearly 40 years old like me, you're still stumbling around on a village green on a Saturday afternoon having a kick about.
Will we see Luke Chadwick in the technical area?
No chance. I've got no interest at all in that, really. Having been a player myself and knowing what a horrible little man I could be to coach, I just think it's not something that I'd like to do. I love sort of the development of young people and young players, but I think I felt so much more happy since I've stepped away from professional football. And don't get me wrong, I've had a wonderful experience in it, but I feel better doing something away from the professional game.
What was your favourite memory from your time playing?
Favourite memory is scoring for Cambridge United against Southport up the Newmarket Road end. I'm so happy and proud that I went and signed for Cambridge, sort of instigated the move myself, went and told them I wanted to play for them. And I used to go to the games from a 7-year-old boy, and then as a teenager watching behind the goal. And when I scored a goal there, I've never felt anything like it on a football. I'm not an emotional person at all. I just felt like the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up. I felt like I was like all the lads. I celebrated in front of the crowd. Then the lads come and cuddled me, and I was sort of walking back to the halfway line. I'm thinking, I'm going to start crying. I don't know what to do. We're playing Southport in a National League game. We're like 3-1 up. Yeah. I'm about to break down in tears.
You won the Premier League.
Exactly. But it was like an incredible feeling. That was the moment that stands out. I've been fortunate enough to have like loads of great moments. Obviously, a football career, you have great moments, bad moments, but the whole journey was amazing.
Luke Chadwick, thank you for your time, mate.
No worries,
Little elbow.
pleasure.
If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Location Football YouTube channel.